Hi, I'm Brian Wins, filling in for Buck Levasseur. Well, spring is here and turkey season is in full swing. If you're a turkey hunter, there's not much better than sitting in the woods on a brisk spring morning, listening to a tom as he gobbles his way into your call. But what if that ability was taken away? What if you couldn't just walk in the woods, set up and hunt? What if you were handicapped? Fortunately, there's a group of sportsmen who've dedicated much of their time to making sure that everybody can get out and enjoy the outdoor sports such as hunting. We'll tag along for a turkey hunt with Ken Buchholtz and the Wheelin Sportsmen. Then we'll talk with the DNR to find out what effect the extended winter will have on the deer population in years to come. And on May 9th, the NRC approved a limited wolf hunt in 3 regions of the UP. We'll talk with DNR Supervisor Terry Minzey to get the details. That's all tonight on Upper Michigan's very own Discovering.
The secret streams that flow beneath the cliffs of colored stone, forests thick and healthy with birch and pine and oak, surrounded by the greatest lakes this world has ever known. The black bear's awesome presence as he roams the hills and fields, call of the timber wolf, the loon's lonesome trill, the eagle soaring high above, the trout lies deep and still. These are what I treasure, the only way I measure feelings that I have for this fine land. There is so much to discover when you're a long-time lover of northern Michigan.
Turkeys are indeed very wary creatures. They have a keen sense of hearing and can pinpoint sounds from as far as a mile away. They have a wide field of vision, and by moving their neck they can gain a 360-degree field of view. One wrong move, one wrong sound, and it's over. Combine that with the fact that you're sitting in their backyard and you've got a tough prospect ahead of you. Trick a turkey into your sights with nothing more than a couple of imitation calls and a decoy. That's the hard part, right? Well, maybe for you and I it is, but what if you couldn't use your legs? What if you couldn't use your hands or your arms? In most cases, that would change turkey hunting from hard to impossible. Thanks to the continuous hard work and dedication of people like Ken Buchholtz, it appears nothing is impossible when it comes to the outdoors. Ken was named Partner in Conservation by the DNR in 2011. He was recently named Hero of Conservation by Field and Stream magazine. On February 16th, he traveled to Nashville for the National Wild Turkey Federation Convention, where he received the prestigious Roger Latham Award, of which only 5 were given out in all of North America. Ken and the Bays de Knott Gobblers chapter of the NWTF, through a program called Wheelin Sportsmen, have built 3 mobile units designed to provide disabled hunters with the opportunity to hunt.
Yeah, it's a lot of people thought their hunting careers were over, whether if they had an accident or if they had some kind of a illness or whatever, but we've brought so many people out now, and boy, they really appreciate it. And we've got people from downstate that come up hunting. We've got a couple of guys and 3 different guys now that we took from Appleton, Wisconsin, people with disabilities and that, and a different person comes up each year. Call them, don't know them from Adam or whatever. They come up and stay, and we meet up and we go hunting, and half the time we get a deer when we go out. Now we'll have more opportunity too this year. Hopefully with the law that we're getting changed a little bit is the one in September, the 4th Saturday and Sunday, where before it was just veterans. Disabled veterans could hunt on that weekend, and the youth can hunt also. And we're getting that changed to all people with disabilities, because a lot of people never had the opportunity to be a veteran, being born with disabilities and stuff. So we got together with the Accessibility Advisory Council, and actually I'm on that council now, and there's a great bunch of people on that council. There are people from all over, with the hearing impaired, vision, quadriplegics, everything. There's a mix of all kinds of people with different disabilities and that. So yeah, it's just great. We a lot of times have the old eyes, they they get watered up in that when we have a successful hunt, and then just getting out. It's just peaceful being out in the woods here. And what's nice with the equipment we have now, of course, in the old days when we first started doing this, we had a piece of equipment that bolted onto the side of the wheelchair that actually Joe Wellman and Mickey Solomon put together. And, that was pretty tricky. You had to be able to power lift the chair back and, go from side to side. And it was pretty tough. And now the equipment we have, it's made by Be Adaptive Equipment out of Indiana. It's got a joystick. You can move the equipment back and forth and up and down. And with the camera, it's like a high definition camera that goes over the scope. And then there's a monitor. We have a 15.5-inch monitor that sits above the window. So even people that are, high quadriplegics and stuff that can't move or anything, they can look at the critter, whatever it is, if it's a turkey, deer, bear, or whatever, they can see it up there in the monitor and with the crosshairs on it with the scope. And we put that hose over to their mouth and they just puff in on it like you're taking a little sip out of a straw, and it fires the gun. So there's no moving, there's no jerking, and we have jacks on all four corners of the trailer, so it's just pretty much rock steady and stuff. So when they puff in on that tube and the crosshairs are lined up, sees nothing but good results from there. So that's a lot of fun, and I don't think we've had a hunt yet where we didn't harvest something. I mean, when we put the crosshairs on it and stuff, it was over. We have people working on our guns. As a matter of fact, Bill Maltoff's a good friend from out at the Great Lakes Club. He works on all of our guns for us, and we know exactly where they're, how they shoot and everything. There's a little chart on the side of them, and so we're well prepared when we go out there. The shotguns are patterned in good, and rifles are shooting right on the money. So when we go out there, it's all business. We come home with something in the bag usually, that's for sure. Good shot. Wow. Okay. Yep. Get a turkey, show you that the girl loves. Been with the National Wild Turkey Federation for about 20 years now. I believe it was a little over 12 years ago or so. I ended up getting on the state board of directors for the Turkey Federation, and we have a really, really good board of directors. In fact, everything's going in a great direction. Michigan just moved to number 4 in the nation, so that's kind of telling you something that we're all working together and doing things. So we have the Women in the Outdoors programs. We have also a lot of youth stuff. Our group's called JAKES, which stands for Juniors Acquiring Knowledge and Ethics and Sportsmanship. We have over 300 kids that come to National Hunting and Fishing Day, which is at the Great Lakes Club. Then the Wheelin Sportsmen program come along, and we've been doing that for, over 10, 12 years. Once a year we'd have an event. Half the people couldn't hunt. They didn't have enough mobility and that. So, and then, I don't know, I ended up getting sick in 2007. Ended up in the hospital in pretty tough shape, and ended up in a dialysis chair for 8 months. Met a young man in there that was in a wheelchair for a long time, and he really didn't care about living much anymore. 9 inches, Barb. He was in a chair for about 20 years, and invited him to one of our events, and he come there and won a gun, and he was happier than happy. He wanted to get out and do some shooting, and I had like Mickey Solomon and Joe Wellman, and the guys built a homemade unit, and then we did some hunting together, and unbelievable, but we ended up harvesting a few turkeys and a couple of deer in that, and they said, boy, it would be nice to have some better equipment, and we got a hold of a company called Be Adaptive Equipment. We did a few fundraisers, and we finally have something that the sportsmen can all agree on. We have a program that we all believe in, and we all like, and it benefits a lot of people that we know that have disabilities and that. So one thing led to another, and the word got out, and now it's we're getting national recognition. Just ended up getting a Roger Latham Award, and it's quite an honor to get that. Up to 5 people that get this award for the whole nation, and Mexico and Canada. And I got a letter around Christmas time, and I couldn't believe it. I read the letter 3 times. I said, wow. I said, I can't believe this. And then the national convention is always in Nashville, Tennessee, so went down there and got an opportunity to speak and meet a lot of really neat people, and met a whole different group of people and a lot of celebrities, and it's pretty neat. You know, we're in contact all the time, and so we just continue to plug along, having a good time.
Don't miss the Woodtick Music Festival in Hermansville, Michigan. 4 days of great bluegrass, country, folk, blues, and rock and roll. Over 25 bands, fun for the entire family. Carry-ins welcome kids 12 and under free. Buy your tickets and campsites and find out everything you need to know online at woodtickfestival.com. That's woodtickfestival.com. The Woodtick Music Festival in Hermansville, Michigan.
You know, it's been turkey hunting since probably, 1990, I guess, something like that, 89. But, we used to get together and have a turkey camp and do things together, quite a while back. And it's a lot of fun. It's this time of the year when it's starting to get nice out again. And, all the birds are out there singing and activities going on. And big thing is we have a Wheelin Sportsmen program now. And we take people out, like this afternoon or this morning when we went out there, we took out Dennis, their Dennis Diner. And he's never had an opportunity to go out hunting before. And we've taken several people out now that are with disabilities to get out hunting. And with our, our equipment we have, our high quadriplegic friendly equipment we have and stuff. And I'll tell you, the people we've taken out in the last 3-4 years, every spring or whatever, they're always asking, are we ready to go turkey hunting again? And it's like, you bet we are. We have a good time. Really, we used to kind of, go after the birds a lot more and that. And now say what we have more fun. We have more fun now, trying to call some birds in and harvesting some birds with people with disabilities that never had the opportunity before. And it's a lot of fun, that's for sure. It's just a great time, that's for sure.
Congratulations to Dennis and Barb on their successful hunts, and a big thanks to Ken, not only for taking me along, but for all he does for our UP outdoors, our youth, and disabled sportsmen and women. I feel extremely honored to call him my friend. It's time for the UP Outdoor Calendar. On May 25th and 26th, it's the Portage Anglers Club Spring Walleye Jamboree in Curtis. Also on May 25th, possession season for bass opens here in the UP. And now's the time to apply for your bear license. There are 7,906 licenses available for the 2013 hunting seasons. The application period ends June 1st. You can apply online at michigan.gov/hunt drawings or at your local retailer or DNR service center. If you've got something happening in your area you'd like to see on the outdoor calendar, let us know by visiting us at realoutdoorsup.com. For us humans, the effects of a long snowy winter pretty much disappear when the snow melts. That is not the case for deer.
We're coming out of a difficult winter. Regionally, deer suffered in a large portion of the Upper Peninsula. Places that they didn't fare too poorly are down in West Delta County and Menominee County, down in the agricultural areas. Down on the Garden Peninsula, they're coming through pretty well. Other places we've had record amount of snows late in the season. The Gogebic, Ontonagon County area, the Copper Country has struggled. In fact, we had 2 gentlemen come in and see me the other day that reported having deer dying in their permitted feed stations. Up here at Shingleton, the deer have just now gotten out of the wintering complexes, so those deer have suffered. We're anticipating a reduction in the number of fawns that will be born this year. We're anticipating a reduction in the yearlings that made it through the year. So we would expect that the 2.5-year-old age class bucks will still be available, as will the 3.5s. The 1.5-year-old bucks will be reduced from last year, and the fawns will be a little bit more difficult to find. What that means for us in the long run is that next year, those bucks that would have been 1.5 years will be fairly non-existent. And so we're going to suffer for the next couple of years as a result of this late winter that we've had.
Well, one of the biggest stressors on deer during the winter is the amount of snowfall. The deeper the snow, the more stressful it is and the more energy it takes for deer to walk through it. Snow at 12 to 14 inches is really restrictive to deer. Snowfall, like we've had this year, is really rare to hold on as long as it did into April. In the past, when we have seen significant snow cover across the Upper Peninsula by April 1st, we have experienced significant losses of deer, both fawns and adults. We've maintained a database of snowfall in the Upper Peninsula for years, going back to the 50s when conservation officers were collecting that data. Now we standardize that data using a different methodology. We can look at even dating back to as far as 2006, 2007, all the way through 2012, 2013. And if you look at snow cover as a percent of the UP that is covered in snow by April 1st, it's pretty striking. Low snowfall levels correlates with high deer populations, good deer survival over winter, good fawn production in the spring, whereas high snowfall on April 1st in the Upper Peninsula results in higher newborn fawn mortality. We generally divide the Upper Peninsula into low, medium, and high snowfall zones, and low snowfall zone receives generally less than 100 inches of snowfall a winter, medium 100 to 150, and the high snowfall zone over 150 inches of snow annually. Obviously, the southern part of the Upper Peninsula, Menominee, southern Dickinson, southern Delta, has much milder weather than to the north. It's often referred to as the banana belt. And deer have an easier life in the south.
It has been a really difficult winter this year, especially in the high snowfall zone. In mid-March, the metabolism of deer starts to rise. Their energy demand becomes more pronounced, so they can't sustain themselves or continue to sustain themselves just on a woody browse diet, such as cedar, or in a hardwood harvest on sugar, soft maple, or another deciduous timber type. They need to get out of those deer concentration areas and get back to more spring and summer foods that are found in breakout areas and some lily species that are found in hardwood stands. So this winter, as of a week ago today, there was still 16 inches of snow in the petrel wintering complex, so the deer were still very constricted. During a 1-hour walk, we found 13 dead deer or remain sites of deer, so we've lost a lot of fawns and some adults too, and we've looked at the femur marrow of deer both in the high snowfall zone, the moderate snowfall zone, such as the Sturgeon Hole deer yard, and then the low snowfall zone, Garden Peninsula. The deer in the garden that we've looked at, the bone marrow, have looked quite good, but just to the north of there, when you get into the Thompson area, or the Sturgeon Hole wintering complex, as we call it, the bone marrow looks really bad. There's not a lot of fat in the bone marrow, and up here it's been really bad. Every deer that I've looked at, especially the fawns. This is a fawn from last year. Every one that I've looked at that we've found dead or that has been hit by vehicles has real poor fat content in their bone marrow, and I'll show you that now. Okay, when you cut the deer, you're trying to expose the femur bone here. Here's the sirloin tip. So if you're cutting up a deer, this is the sirloin tip, which is probably a lot of people will recognize that. But you just basically expose the femur bone, which is below the sirloin tip. And we want to look at the bone marrow. When deer become stressed in late winter, they begin to catabolize their own fat just to survive. So they begin to starve. So they're utilizing the fat in their body, and it shows in the bone marrow. So here's the femur bone. We just bust that bone and look at this marrow inside. Now this deer was hit quite a bit to the south of here, and the fat content looks like it's about 50% in this deer. She was pregnant, as you can see. She had one fawn. She might have lost a fawn already, but her bone marrow looks decent. It doesn't look great, but it's not real gelatinous. You can see there is some fat content there, but it doesn't look great. You can see her neck is quite shrunk, and her loins are constricted, so she's not in great health, obviously, because she just dispersed from the deer yard. But it looks like she would have made it. This is a fawn from last year. So this femur is more gelatinous. It's not terrible. Most of the deer that I've seen this winter looked even worse than this, but the deer has catabolized its fat. So when you see a real gelatinous bone marrow in the femur, the deer, even if it's alive, when you see that, it's likely to die because of the severity of the winter. So it's basically walking dead. We lose a lot of deer in the deer yards late in the winter, and then also after they disperse. So it's been a really difficult winter, especially in the high snowfall zone this year.
As most of you know by now, there will be a wolf hunt in the UP in 2013. I met with UP DNR Supervisor Terry Minzey to get the details.
The Department of Natural Resources took 2 recommendations down to the Natural Resources Commission for consideration for a wolf hunt. The Natural Resources Commission took parts of those and modified them somewhat and established a wolf hunting season in the state of Michigan. The wolf hunting season, as established by the Natural Resources Commission, will begin on November 15th and run through December 31st. 2013 will be the first year. We'll have 3 hunt units. Unit A, which is way over by Ironwood, will have a quota of 16 animals. Hunt Unit B will have a quota of 19 animals. B is over in the Ontonagon down to Lake Gogebic area. And Hunt Unit C over in Mackinac County will have a limit of 8 animals. Hunters will be allowed to use firearms. They'll be able to use bows, crossbows, and they'll also be allowed to trap. They'll be selling 1,200 licenses. They'll be sold over the counter. They'll go on sale August 3rd. The resident price of the license will be $100. For non-residents, it'll be $500. It'll be first come, first serve on the licenses. When we hit 1,200, we'll shut off the sales. Successful hunters will be required to report their harvest on the day that they killed the wolf, and we'll be keeping track. It'll be the responsibility of the hunters to know whether or not we've achieved our quotas. We'll have a website and a call-in area that they can call in and find out whether or not we've achieved the quota. Once a quota for an individual unit is achieved, then we will shut down that unit. And hunters will be allowed to hunt in all 3 of the units with the tag that they buy. So if Unit C gets closed down, they could pick up and move if they wanted over to Units A or B until those quotas are achieved.
Well, that's it for this week. Be sure to tune in next week for walleyes on Lake Gogebic with professional walleye fisherman Mark Martin. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week right here on Discovering.